For the past 2 weeks, I've been getting this suggestion, weirdly enough, on what are the smartest dinosaurs out there. Originally, I wasn't going to do this video until the end of the month, but the amount of requests I keep getting for it persuaded me enough just to put it out a bit earlier. In the very earliest of dinosaur movies, these animals have just been depicted as mindless killing machines that just fight each other over the most trivial of things without a second thought. But in the early 2000s all the way to present day, there have been a few depictions of dinosaurs that show more than just brute force to get what they want. Instead of running out and risking injury, some use the strength of others to commit mass murder, while others deceive enemies to save the ones they love. That's right folks, instead of my usual power ranking, we're going to be looking at the smartest dinosaurs in cinema, or the smartest I could have found, to be honest. Before I continue, I just want you guys to know that these two would have 100% be the smartest if they were confirmed to be dinosaurs. They know about space and how the universe works, but they teleport into the sky at the end of the movie in a shimmering light. So what they are is not confirmed. The biggest theory so far is that they were aliens that took on the appearance of gallimimus to blend in with the natives. Anyway, enough talk about what should be, let's get into some of the smartest actual dinosaurs we've seen on TV. Starting off the list after probably his 7th time in one of my videos is One Eye from Dino King. At this point I'm so fed up of saying who he is and his entire origin story, so I'll just give a small description of his story. One Eye is the main villain in this movie and is an old grizzled T-Rex with one eye and does some unspeakable acts throughout the entire movie. The very first time he was on screen, he saw an ankylosaurus, and instead of doing all the work of disarming the thing and risking injury, he finds a boulder and pushes it off a cliff onto the Anky's tail, rendering it useless. Then he went down and gave it the "what are you gonna do about it" look before killing it. This guy is the Scar of dinosaurs. Usually he uses resources and other dinosaurs to carry out his own plans, but unlike Scar, he doesn't have any minions to back him up. He relies on his own raw strength to get things done. The territory Speckles and his family had was prime real estate. It was secure and had a lot of prey, and One Eye wanted it. He knew he couldn't have attacked the entire family because although there was only one adult, being Speckles' mom, it would have been hard to fight off the sub-adult son and the 2 sisters at the same time. So One Eye starts a stampede of every large herbivore in the area directly towards Speckles' family, which kills them off. The stampede first crushed Speckles' brother, and then it pushed the twin sisters off a cliff to their death. During this entire thing, hundreds of dinosaurs died after falling down that cliff, by the way. That's another thing, he doesn't care about the loss. Once he achieves his goal, then that's all that really matters, and he achieves said goal. He managed to get alone with Speckles' mother, which would prevent her from getting any help from her older kids. So they fought, and One Eye did a couple of steps and just yeets her off the cliff. That again was another thing he planned out. He made sure that there was an easy way of dispatching her instead of a dragged out fight. That's why he chose the edge. He's very observant. When he's hunting, he sees a herd of Torosaurus during breeding season and knows that the bulls will fight and injure each other, giving him less work. So he waits until one gets hurt and chases it, but gets interrupted by a Therizinosaurus that made him fall back. So the guy looks around the area to see if there's anything that could turn the fight around. He looks at a tree and then looks back at the Theri's claw and leads the Theri closer and closer to the tree. And just before he could get pierced, he moves out the way and the Therizino's claws get stuck in the tree. He knew that with just one hand rendered useless, he could take it down easily, and that's what he did. The worst thing he's done for his own gain was pushing Speckles off a cliff so that he could have his way with Speckles' mate. After Speckles grew into a strong adult, he decided to reduce some of the struggle and pushed a boulder off a cliff that knocked Speckles into a lake. And that left Speckles' mate Blue Eyes all alone. And the more poor Blue Eyes resisted, the more he threw her around. Eventually Speckles returns from the lake and an epic fight breaks out that leads to the defeat of One Eye, which is understandable considering that he's more than 50. That wouldn't be the end of One Eye though. After Speckles lost one of his children and his mate, he was forced to go on migration with all the other dinosaurs in search of a new home. One Eye sees this and starts a stampede towards them to separate Speckles from his kids. After that was done, he killed another one of his children, but just as he was about to kill the last one, Speckles came in between them. At first, One Eye is a bit more hesitant than usual because the last time they fought, Speckles kinda beat him up, but he decides to give it one more go, and he does about the same as before, but this time just gets knocked off a cliff into the ocean. Speckles and him get into their final scrape in the ocean to save Junior, but then a 100-foot Tylosaurus grabs him by the neck and carries him to the depths. I gotta imagine that being torn apart underwater is one of the worst ways to go, but he deserves it for attempted SA, mass murder and infanticide. While he may have used his intelligence for malicious acts, the next dinosaur actually uses her to help the one she loves. Fang is a medium-sized T-Rex from the Adult Swim show Primal, where she's accompanied by a caveman called Spear after both of their families were killed by the same rare Tyrannosaurs. After sharing the same loss, they never leave each other's side and have literally traveled across the world facing different enemies, from zombie sauropods to house-sized spiders. She can take down things way bigger than her and come out unscathed, but she's also pretty smart. In season 1 episode 4, they enter a wasteland after fighting off thousands of raptors just to be met with giant bats that have some weird mutualism between a giant spider, where they bring her food and I don't know what she gives them. From what I've read on a lot of sites, it seems that it's just for food storage. Anyway, the bats managed to take Spear up to the spider's lair, which was a Rapunzel-ass tower of rock. She tried her best to get back to her friend over and over again, but she kept falling down, so she decided to try something different. She knew that the bats carried dead animals to their roost, so Fang let out a dying roar and collapsed to the ground to make the bats think that she was dead. It worked like a charm and they carried her up to the tower, where she got back on her feet and fought the giant spider, but she herself was soon ultimately saved by Spear, who woke up and drove a Triceratops horn through the arachnid's head. One thing you would not expect for a dinosaur is for her to behave more responsible than a human. In a few episodes, Fang seems to hold Spear back or babysit him at times because of how he lashes out to things sometimes. Spear is not dumb or anything, by the way. He has set up plans and built stuff that a lot of us probably couldn't. In the Night Feeder episode, when they come across the corpse of a Smilodon killed by the Night Feeder, Fang took one whiff and urged Spear to move on, but he didn't want to and she let that one slide. But after Spear tried to run out into the darkness to fight whatever was killing all the ceratopsians because he was frustrated, Fang stood up and stood right in front of him. She knew if he went into that forest he wouldn't come back alive, and gives him the "if you go into that forest I'll kill you" instead of the Night Feeder. Then she looks back at the forest and then back at Spear as the noise died down, basically telling him that there wasn't anything he could have done anyway if he went out there. She has a good amount of emotional intelligence as well. When Spear left a print in the sand, she places her footprint right next to it, symbolizing how close they are. After the geeked out sauropod got burnt up and died, she did not show a face of anger like she did when the Night Feeder died. It was more of a "I don't blame you for this" face. I think she knew the poor thing just wasn't in its right mind and was very sick. Unlike most other dinosaurs in this show, she can become close to other animals and humans as well, even risking her own life for them, with Mira being an example. After Spear died, her kids and his became close just as they did, continuing a journey that should have never ended. She has a good amount of battle intelligence too, because after Spear and her would split occasionally when fighting wars under the Egyptian queen, she sometimes would have to deal with threats by herself. Speaking of that, she understands bartering too. When the queen held her egg, she listened in order to keep her unhatched children safe. Most other animals would have just attacked her regardless due to their crazy maternal instinct. Sadly, this wholesomeness doesn't last long, as the next dinosaurs are actually a mix of the same franchise and both kill for their own pleasure. I couldn't mention one of them without mentioning the other, because both have impressive feats on their own and both have tricked humans so hard that the people fell for the bait. The first one I'm going to get into are the raptors on Isla Sorna in Jurassic Park 3. These guys are to this day my favorite raptors. They have the best colors, and the quills on the heads of the males make them stand out more than the generic smooth reptilian skin versions. These guys made me remember when raptors were actually terrifying and not pets. Not that it's a bad concept, because it does turn out to be nice, but have any raptors in the franchise scared you after Jurassic Park 3? The raptor pack in the first movie was kinda tamed, and the Velociraptors were close to this dead-eye whistling lady. I'm getting off topic. The raptors on Isla Sorna have set up traps for humans more than once. The first one being the male that was stationed in the research lab. I'm sure it could have picked off at least one person without hiding like that. It stood behind a glass container and remained as still as possible to make Amanda think it was a specimen inside the tube, so that she could come closer, and when she did come closer, its pupil moved and it lunged at her but just missed. Even when it seemed like it couldn't get to the cast after they were behind the gate, it looked up and realized that there was an opening, so he started to climb but was soon locked off. He then called for the rest of the pack to lead the humans into some sort of kill box, where a few chased them into a part of the jungle where other raptors would be waiting. But only Odeski got caught, because most of them just split up in different parts. Realizing this, they decided to use Odeski as bait instead of killing him outright. So one of them sent their big claw into his spine, paralyzing him, so that he could show signs of life but not go anywhere far. Amanda and her stupid husband fell for it and were about to go help him, but plot armor was on her side and she got hooked on a branch just out of the reach of the raptors. With their cover blown, they realized Odeski couldn't be of any use to them anymore and just decided to kill him. In the end of the movie, the raptor pack finally trapped the group, and after Grant spoke some weird raptor language with the chamber, whether he was actually talking to them or they were just confused enough to bide time is unclear. After they got their eggs back, the lead female makes her other raptors hold back and they leave the people alive, and go their separate ways. The Indominus, on the other hand, doesn't know such mercy. The moment she was born, she killed her own sibling. One day she woke up and just decided that she wanted to explore the outside world, and clawed up the walls of her enclosure and used her camouflage to trick the humans into thinking that she escaped so the gate could be opened. It worked better than expected, and she broke out and started killing everything in sight. She even tore out her tracker, which she somehow knew was what the people would use to find her. How did she know that was uncertain. It probably felt like an unnatural part of her body, and she just decided to tear it up. She then uses her camouflage for the second time to catch the little SWAT team sent to capture her. They sent these people to their graves, by the way. Why would you only equip them with net guns, tasers, and tranquilizers to bring down something that can take down an entire herd of sauropods, and trick people into thinking it's not where it's supposed to be? The best thing she's done was interact with the Raptor pack. At first I don't think she was considering working with the Raptors, but after seeing so many people with guns and other heavy weaponry, she decided to put the odds in her favor. So she convinced the Raptors that the humans are the bad guys somehow, which caused them to attack people who they were originally close to, and that just gave her enough time to escape without any serious injury. This was something like what One Eye did, but less malicious. She knew damn well those Raptors could have all died if they took on the military, but all she cared about was taking the focus off of her for a brief moment so that she could escape. I mean, it's pretty clear to see at the end of the movie that she doesn't care about them. At the end of the movie, when Blue didn't kill Owen like she wanted, she literally turned on them. I'm not sure if this was coincidence or if it was planned, but when she broke out into the aviary, she roared at the pterosaurs, which made all of them fly out like a swarm of wasps. There is a chance that she did this because she knew they would take out the aircraft, or she just roared because she's, you know, a dinosaur. When she fought with Rexy, she realized that she couldn't necessarily outmuscle her when it came down to biting, so she utilized her claws to damage the old Rex, while keeping her neck at a safe distance away from the mouth. It didn't matter though, because in the end she got the one eye treatment and got dragged to the depths. Finally, we have Grumpy, the T-Rex from the Land of the Lost. Weirdly enough, most of these characters were in my strongest T-Rex video.
Coincidence? I think not!
Land of the Lost was an OG movie with Will Ferrell in it, and once he's in a movie you know it's gonna have some comedic aspect to it. After Will and two other folks go through a water park, they come out into some weird prehistoric world with aliens and dinosaurs. They end up meeting an ape man called Chaka who tags along with them for a bit. But then they met Grumpy after getting tangled up in some vines. It looked eerily similar to the scene in King Kong with the Vastatosaurus. After the generic T-Rex chase, Will and the others make it across a chasm on a thin rock, one that couldn't possibly support Grumpy's weight. Like every Will Ferrell character, he starts to mock someone. In this case, it happened to be a giant T-Rex. He said that Grumpy had a brain the size of a walnut and continued insulting his intelligence. When Grumpy heard this, he said to hell with it, and Hulk jumped over to Will, and even when he couldn't get to them, his eyes stayed locked on Will throughout the entire scene. He not only understood what Will was saying, but held a grudge too. Later in the night, after Will starts shit talking some more about his brain being the size of a walnut, he finds one, gift wraps it, and sends it flying hundreds of meters towards Will, where he gives the wait till I catch you outside look. I think this is something specifically only given to him, since during feeding time the Allosaurus didn't show nearly as much intelligence as him. When Will was hiding in the clothes store with a bunch of mannequins, the Allosaurus couldn't distinguish, but Grumpy immediately knew what was a real person and what was fake. Even in the end, when they became friends after Will cleared a blockage or something in his colon after Grumpy ate him, the two worked together to defeat the aliens, and just as they were about to return to the human world, Grumpy gives him a fist bump and the two go their separate ways. An honorable mention I'd like to add are some of the dinosaurs from Dinotopia: The Ruby Stone. Now I'm sure this does take a lot of you back. In this movie, some of the dinosaurs can talk, and some are even members of a court board, and others are old with wisdom from previous generations before them. 26 showed the best intelligence feat out of any of them, despite not being depicted as the smartest. She found out that the splinter was hurting the T-Rex and added some herbs on its gums to make it feel better. I know there was an elder dinosaur, but all he does is remember the danger of the Ruby Stone and reminded everyone that Dinotopia could be in danger again. Another arguable candidate for this video could have been some of the dinosaurs from Dinosaur King, because they understand human language too. You know what, some of these are just too good not to mention, so like I did with some of my older videos, I'll do a part 2 on this one. So that's just about all, folks. Do you agree with my roster, or were there smarter dinosaurs that I missed out on? Let me know in the comments. With that said, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.